Welcome to the third episode of the Business of the Football series, and I'm your host Chidi Jamal. So there is this pattern we have observed, and if you're also studying the pattern here in Africa, you will see that many sports projects are self-funded. Many clubs, academies, tournaments, leagues, and you can imagine why most of these projects are stagnated. Not because they do not have bright minds, but there is a limit to growth that can occur to a project when finance is stiff, when finance have to be reliant on just one source. And that is why some projects have not scaled, not because they do not have a scaling vision or a scaling plan, but funding has limited the rate at which they can execute some of these plans and strategies. And when you dig deep, you also come to see that the reason why, despite the fact that sponsorship at the global level is ranging in billions, I'm talking about dollars, the sponsorship industry or the sponsorship ecosystem continue to grow. But when it comes to Africa, we are not really assessing this much of this huge global cake that is being distributed. So what is the issue? What are we not getting right? And when you look at it critically, you will see that one of the major issues we are having is the misconception around sponsorship. It is the act of treating sponsorship with the charity mentality. It is the act of treating sponsorship like sponsorship is a commercial charity. Sponsorship is a support. Sponsorship is is financial assistance. But those are not sponsorship. And when you talk to most of these club directors and owners, since we interact with them most of the time, you will see how they bring in passion. You will see how they bring in the efforts. Now, those are not the problem. They have amazing intentions, but intention is not what's add in the metrics when measuring sponsorship. That could work out when you're looking for donations, support from friends, but when it comes to sponsorship, the metrics have to be clearly defined and clarified. That is why sponsorship is not donation. Sponsorship is a commercial transaction. Sponsorship is a business transaction where values are exchanged for values. Not just exchange for values, values are exchanged for equivalent values, if not even much more. Because sponsorship to a great length is more like investment. It's more like investment. When you look at donation, donation is an act of goodwill. And when people donate towards a cause, there is no there is no obligation to give an account, or let's say there is no return on investment metrics for that. It's out of goodwill. But in sponsorship, accountability is important because it is not free money. You must account for the money. You must show workings for the money. It's not cho cho cho. So this is one of the areas we need to have a mind shift. We need to start treating it from that business point. And it's not just understanding or knowing that sponsorship is business. In our actions, that should reflect as well. It should reflect as well. Why did I say so? One of my favorite illustrations of sponsorship can be likened to trade by barter. So in trade by barter, it's a phenomenal concept actually for me, where you have nyam and you want oil. You go to the oil person and try to exchange. There's exchange of value, right? Now, this is where it gets really interesting. You might have yam, you need oil, and the person that has oil does not need yam. So, what are you going to do? So, from a business point of view, if you are desperately and truly need that oil, you have to know, okay, what does these people need? Let's say they need plantain. Is there a way you can swap your yam for plantain and get that oil? Now, another trick here again is this. The question you have to ask yourself again, the purpose at which you want to swap that oil for. Do your people, most time, do your family, do they need oil? It's a verb. It's a verb. Because when you try to look at it, it takes beyond just writing proposals. Understanding the business sense of sponsorship goes beyond just writing proposals. When you understand the business aspects, you begin to unravel it. Because first of all, you know that sponsorship is a commercial transaction, so value must be exchanged. Then secondly, what is the value proposition? What value is the most important value in the scale of preference when dealing with sponsorship? Audience. There's no sugarcoating it. In as much as we always put logo at the forefront, except you have 10 million followers, logo placement on a banner also really it's not a huge asset. It's an attaching asset. So, what is the biggest value in this transaction? It's audience. One of the things you must understand about proposal or sponsorship, I wanted to say, is that sponsorship is sales, is a selling business. And another angle you're going to look at it from is that in this sales, you are a middleman. You are a middleman. In other words, you have your assets. Your biggest asset is your audience. The sponsors have their assets, which is their money or in kind, depending on what you want. So you are coming to sell your assets for what they have. And this is where it gets interesting. You must understand the interest of your audience to be able to know the right sponsors. So it is in itself a business venture that needs time, that needs study, that needs understanding. So it's not something you just wake up and you need sponsors. It's something that you have to look into. Same way your coaches go and study in various coaching institutions, you also need to learn sponsorship. And in this episode that are coming up, we are going to be diving deeply into the subject matter of sponsorship. I hope this introduction have been able to properly prep your mind for what is coming. I remain your host, Chidi Jemals. Until the next episode, stay with us.